So we'll call to order this May 1st meeting of the Heritage Preservation Board. Happy May Day. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bolton,
Here.
Mr. Tunstall, Ms. Protomitis,
Here.
Ms. Page,
Here.
Ms. Johnson.
Here.
And we'll have public comments. If there's anybody that has any public comments, you can step forward, state your name and address for the record, and you'd have 2 minutes, and this would be for items not on our agenda. And seeing none, we'll go on with our quasi-judicial announcement and swearing in of speakers, please.
This is a quasi-judicial proceeding where the Heritage Preservation Board acts in a quasi-judicial rather than a legislative capacity. At a quasi-judicial hearing, it is not the board's function to make law, but rather to apply law that has already been established. In a quasi-judicial hearing, the board is required by law to make findings of fact based upon the evidence presented at the hearing and apply those findings of fact to previously established criteria contained in the Code of Ordinances in order to make a legal decision regarding the application before it. The board may only consider evidence at this hearing that the law considers competent, substantial, and relevant to the issues. If the competent, substantial, and relevant evidence at the hearing demonstrates that the applicant has met the criteria established in the Code of Ordinance, then the board is required by law to find in favor of the applicant. By the same token, if the competent, substantial, and relevant evidence at the hearing demonstrates that the applicant has failed to meet the criteria established in the Code of Ordinance, then the board is required by law to find against the applicant. Are there any members of the board wishing to disclose any ex parte communications or conflicts of interest this evening? Seeing none. All those who are wishing to testify or speak this evening, if you could please stand up and raise your right hand to be sworn. The applicant. Anyone speaking on your behalf? Okay, could you please stand? Well, she's not speaking on your behalf. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
So our first item on the agenda now is the approval of the minutes from March 7th, 2017. 2017. Any corrections, redactions, anything? We'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Ms. Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. Page,
Yes.
Ms. Protomitis,
Yes.
Mr. Bolton,
Yes. On to CA number 17-41, Johansson Bear Haven Land Company.
Okay, this is case 1741. The property is located at 111 East Tarpon Avenue, and the applicant is requesting to allow for the replacement of the front windows and doors on the structure and replace the existing metal buildings located behind the structure. The owner is Bear Haven Land Company, and the applicant is Leland Johansson. The contributing historic structure is a two-story masonry vernacular commercial building, which once was one of Tarpon Springs' earliest general stores. The store was operated by brothers James and L.D. Vincent until the 1920s. L.D. Vincent also became an undertaker and started a funeral parlor, which was originally located behind this building on Orange Street. The Vincent Funeral Home relocated to 456 East Tarpon Avenue and is still in operation. Constructed of rusticated concrete block, the building still has early intact storefronts with cast iron columns at the first floor level. The second floor level has been stuccoed over, but the original fenestration is still evident. A two-story covered deck seen in earlier photos of the building has been removed from the building. However, in 1980, the second floor was stuccoed, and windows on the second floor were most likely covered and replaced. The roof is a built-up shed-type roof, and the exterior of the structure is rusticated concrete block and stucco. There are two angled recess entries, which are proposed to be retained. The applicant is proposing to replace two metal storage buildings which currently exist behind the main building and which have become extremely weathered and dilapidated. The applicant would like to remove the two decomposing sheds and replace them with two new steel metals buildings that meet the same size, shape, and mass of the older structures and locate them on the existing concrete slabs. The new metal buildings will have an exterior that mimics a lap siding metal material, and porous rock material is proposed for the area between the two structures. The applicant is also proposing to replace the single-pane existing front doors and windows on the first floor with clear glass transom-style 1/1 panes, adding lattice-style trim on the upper windows. The window and door replacements are proposed to meet the ADA and hurricane impact zone code. New bronze window separators will be added on the windows. Staff approved 2 items, the upper and lower story awnings, which are planned to be replaced, and the lighting on the front facade, which will be replaced under the awning. The review criteria. In reviewing an application for a certificate of approval, the board shall consider the following design guideline criteria pertaining to this application. That accessory structures, such as a shed, shall be located within the rear or side yard and closest to the rear yard. That accessory structures may be necessary to accommodate the needs of commercial use. Some structures are appropriate in locations that do not impact the building facade and/or important historic features of the building. The architectural design of accessory structures is important if they are within the public view. Original and/or new windows should not be highly tinted, and replacement doors shall match the design and opening of the original door. In reviewing an application for certificate of approval, the board shall consider the following criteria. Number 1, the height and width of any proposed alteration or new construction shall be consistent with that of the adjacent contributing structures and with those of similar character and architectural style found throughout the immediate neighborhood or the district. Staff's analysis found that the proposed metal accessory structures will have the same dimensions, massing, and height of the original structures and will not impact the main structure. The guidelines recognize that commercial uses may need accessory structures for storage purposes and requires that they are located within the rear yard as proposed. The existing storage structures were not recognized on the Florida Master Site file as being historic, and the city has already officially recognized and listed these 2 structures as being condemned, requiring their removal. The proposed front doors and windows are very similar to what is present, with the exception to the lattice trim being proposed. However, this same pattern was approved recently on a neighboring structure, and it's not anticipated that the added design will detract from the historical significance or appearance of the structure. Number 2, that the width and height of windows, doors, and entries shall be consistent with the character of the building's original architectural style, and repair and replacement of missing architectural features should be based on the accurate duplications substantiated by historic, physical, or pictorial evidence rather than any conjectural designs or the availability of different architectural elements from the other buildings or structures. Staff's findings are that the proposed new windows and doors are compatible with what currently exists on the structure and within the neighborhood and district. Staff is glad to see that the recessed angled entry will be retained and there are no new or enlarged openings being proposed. Number 3, the relationship of the structure within an historic or cultural preservation district to the open space between it and the street and to other buildings or scenic views, vistas, or streetscapes characterizing the area shall be protected through a site plan review process addressing setbacks, roof lines, garage placement, parking, and access analysis, and the use of landscaping. Staff's findings are that all the improvements proposed have been reviewed through the city's technical review committee to ensure compliance with the city's land development code. The committee recommended approval of the improvements. Number 4, the shape and texture of the roof shall replicate the shape, texture, and type of roof distinguishing the building's original architecture and on structures of similar style and age within historic and cultural preservation district. Staff's findings are that the shape and type of the roofs for the new accessory structures replicate the roofs of the existing metal structures. The new structures fit into the same footprint and have the same dimensions as the existing structures and are obviously more aesthetic in appearance than the existing structures. Number 5, the size and mass or shape of the building after alteration shall be reflective of the building's original architectural style. The size and mass or shape of a proposed structure should reflect the character of contributing buildings within the district as well as those immediately surrounding the subject property, and shall include review of architectural elements such as roof lines, fenestration, and other components of facade design. Staff's analysis is that staff is of the opinion that the proposed facade modifications will enhance the downtown town area and reflect the character of other contributing structures within the neighborhood and district. Number 6, landscaping shall be utilized as means to enhance the architectural character. We do not find this particular one applicable. Number 7, distinctive architectural features shall be repaired rather than replaced wherever possible. Architectural details, including color, materials, texture, and site lighting, shall be treated so as to make the building, structure, or traditional cultural property consistent with the property's original architectural style and character. New materials should replicate the material being placed in composition, design, color, texture, and other visual qualities. Staff's findings are that the materials proposed replicate the existing features being replaced in composition, design, color, and texture, and other visual qualities. Number 8, all building structures, sites, and traditional cultural properties shall be recognized as products of their own time, and alterations, modifications, or other changes to a structure shall not attempt to create an earlier appearance than the original date of construction. Staff's findings are that the additions are not expected to create an earlier appearance. Number 9, the renovation of contributing structures in a historic cultural district or designated site shall meet the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation and guidelines for rehabilitating historic buildings. Staff's findings are that the replacement of the front windows and doors meet the Secretary of Interior's standards for rehabilitation and guidelines for rehabilitating historic buildings. Number 10, the proposed project shall conform to the other requirements of this code and be in compliance with the goals, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan. Staff's findings are that all the proposed improvements would meet the requirements of the LDC, the zoning district regulations, and the goals, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan. Number 11, the impact upon archaeological sites shall preserve the integrity of the site. And staff's findings are that there are no archaeological sites which will be impacted. Therefore, staff's recommendations are for approval of the applicant's certificate of approval request for, number 1, demolition of the existing metal storage structures in the rear of the property. Number 2, replacement of the storage structures with 2 new steel storage accessory structures with horizontal lap siding facade appearance. Number 3, the dimensions and square footage of the replacement metal storage structures shall not exceed the dimensions and square footage of the original structures and shall be placed within the same footprints of the original structures. Number 4, the addition of pervious rock brown covering between the 2 metal accessory structures. 5, the replacement of the front windows and doors of the facade with the materials and style of the examples and specifications submitted by the applicant in this application. Any questions?
Thanks. So at this time, this would be for us to ask any questions that we have from the city. Any questions? I have one. The size of the accessory buildings, is there a reason that they can't, if they had wanted to, exceed the current size that's being demolished? In other words, if there weren't any accessory structures there now, but it was just vacant, and the code or guidelines allow for accessory structures, and they wanted to put something there that's bigger than what's there now, would that be acceptable? Or are we limiting them just because of the slab, or would they rather have something bigger?
I would not recommend it because of, I believe it's number 5. The size and mass and shape of the building after alteration shall be reflective of the building's original. Now, these weren't cited in the Florida Master File, but I think anything larger than what they were proposing, we've got to kind of be careful with the roof styles and the heights of those structures compared to the original structure.
Okay, thanks. At this time, the applicant has anything to present or would like to question the city? Any discussion?
I just have a question.
Or, I'm sorry, public comments. Do we have anybody from the public that would like to speak in favor or in opposition to this
And
application?
y'all can still ask questions of the applicant even if they're not going to give a presentation.
Okay, public comment is closed. Discussion?
Can I ask my question now? Okay. On number 1, actually, but it rolls into the top of page 6, when they talk about the proposed front windows and doors, very similar with the exception of lattice trim being proposed, is there a picture of that anywhere? And what,
They gave us specs for the windows and doors. Let me find them for you.
because I can't visualize where and how that lattice is going to appear.
Okay. It's behind this photo.
Okay.
Yes, that one.
This is an example of it.
So it's not lattice in the terms that we're thinking like garden lattice, that's the tight woven basket looking. You're just talking about like muttons or. So it's not garden. It's not like that 4x8 sheet of plywood that's
Picturing
been
the
cut.
diagonal.
No,
Okay. All right. Thank you.
that was my question. Thank you for clarifying.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Can you entertain a motion? If we don't have a motion, it will die for lack of a motion.
No, you gotta have a motion
No.
one way or the other.
Okay, we need a motion.
Give me just a minute.
Thank you.
Remember, you all can make a motion to approve or deny, and there can be conditions on the approval if you need. Just need to make sure that you say them into your motion.
I could not hear you very clearly. I'm sorry.
I said you guys can make a motion to either approve or deny, and then if you have a motion that has conditions, which you are privy to doing, you just need to make sure that you clearly state your conditions within your motion.
Okay. So I would like to make a motion that we approve. I'm trying to find the kind of the summary of what we're approving. I think is on page 7, the recommendations.
Yes.
You can also make a motion to approve as recommended by staff.
Okay, that's what I want to do. I make a motion that we approve as recommended by staff.
I second the motion.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. Page,
Yes.
Ms. Protomitis,
Yes.
Mr. Bolton.
Yes. Thank you. It wasn't that bad. Thank you for
you.
your improvements to our downtown. So we have any staff comments?
No staff comments.
Any board discussion items? I have two. One is where are we at on our review guidelines being updated?
Actually, I haven't spoken to Heather about that in a while because she has her intern working on those. I think I mentioned that to you before, so I don't know how far they have gotten on it. The intern has done quite a bit of research on other communities, and she's actually picked out, before the intern came on, there were a few that I had picked out. And she's actually picking out the same ones that I picked out, which is a good sign. But I can ask her tomorrow.
Can we add to that to the agenda for every meeting? from here on out, since that's a working item, that is something we're all have a interest in, and it's important to the citizens of Tarpon Springs to know how that's moving forward. And then every month that we meet, be prepared with a update on that. Thanks so much.
As an old business item to the agenda.
Okay.
So before staff or board discussion, I would put it old business.
Got it.
And then number 2, I would ask our bylaws or our rules state in Rule 2.2 an attendance. Members shall notify the city staff person assigned to the board of his or her designee if they are not going to attend a meeting. If a member misses 2 out of 3 consecutive meetings without cause and without prior approval of the chairperson, the member shall forfeit his or her appointment. Can we reach out to Mr. Tunstall and find out if he's, is there a prior knowledge of him not attending, or is there a way we can ask him if he wants to maintain? I don't want to just say this is the rule, notify the commissioners that we have an opening. That's not very gracious. So can we find out if he has an interest of?
Am I allowed to speak, Erica?
I would leave that to staff
Okay.
to say, but I mean, yeah, Kim, you can certainly speak if you have the information on it.
I spoke to him today, and I think he's going to resign.
Okay.
He
thank you.
hasn't like written it down yet, but he indicated that he just can't come to the meeting.
And I think the Board of Commissioners, from my understanding, is working on filling all of the voids in a lot of the boards, and also working on a possible ordinance to make sure that that specific rule is codified and changed for the board, so that we make sure that we keep our boards filled with people, and have a smooth removal process if somebody needs to be removed because of attendance.
We're adjourned. Thanks.
Well, that was a smooth meeting.
That was easy.
Oh,
One
that was
thing.
Really, doesn't get any smoother than that.
I have a question for you. Just when we're for the record, are the guidelines the gazillion different guidelines that staff has to read through on each criteria? Is there a reason she has to read the whole paragraph on every one?
No, that's just how staff, the planning and zoning staff has done it. They do that with some of the other boards. It's just a way of making the record. I will say for legal purposes, this is the record. So
That's what I was gonna say.
It
Isn't
doesn't
this?
necessarily need to be read in, but it's just at the preference of.
I'm going to
staff.
defer to you for meetings that don't feel like you have to read that whole paragraph. We've all heard it a million times before.
Okay.
If there's something pertinent in it that you really want to highlight, that you feel that we should hear, then I think that would be okay. But don't feel, especially if there's not an application, you can just say 6 like you did the landscaping. You said kind of in general, it's about landscaping, nothing. So
Okay.
just
Yeah, because it does
save
get-
your voice. I'm not a fan of doing things just because that's the way they've always been done, unless it's part of our.
If it's legally,
Yeah, if
but
there, that's
it's
why I
not.
asked if
Like we
there's.
said, this becomes part of application.
Recycling.
Just put it right there on top.
On top here?
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Oh, yes, just because I always feel bad when I do try and call and then I can't get through to you and I'm thinking. it's
Yeah, you
probably-
can even text me.
Oh, at what number? The number you're gonna give me?
Mhm.
Okay.
727.
change it
Hold
back.
on just
I'm
a
not.
second. In there and get a contact set up for you.
Have a good night. Thank you too.
Wasn't that easy?